Hey there guys, and welcome back to our Pathfinder campaign tutorial guide on how to create your first character. So today we're going to be going over a couple more things, namely skills. We're going to be focusing on the skills. You'll remember in the last section we did focus on ability scores and your personal information, and how your ability scores will affect your modifiers and how your modifiers affect the way the game is played. So skills are such an important part of the campaign. Like I reiterated to reiterate on what I said in the last video, is you're going to be using your skills more than any other part of your character. Especially a lot of people get into Pathfinder or tabletoping in general and assume that it's going to be like a video game where there's going to be mostly combat with some social interaction. Absolutely not. It's almost all social interaction, very few instances of combat. You're going to do a lot of talking, a lot of investigating, side things like you're going to want to do some trading and things like that, and shopping. It really is a fully immersive role-playing game. Now there will be some sessions where we'll spend the whole session in a dungeon, and you'll come and do combat encounters every time you turn a corner. But that's a dungeon, and we'll get into that later. So we're going to go over skills. Now, most of these skills are pretty self-explanatory. As you can see, we have acrobatics, appraise, bluff, climb. Those things are pretty simple. So acrobatics would be your ability to balance on things, and you'll see there's no jumping skill. Now, that's what acrobatics is jumping. Things like that. It's pretty simple. Appraise, it's a little more complicated. We'll get into that kind of thing later. Bluff is simple. You're going to bluff somebody. You're going to lie to them, basically. Climbing, again. So most of these are pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, and you have some more complicated things, right? So you have craft. You'll see that craft is written 3 times here. Knowledge is written multiple times. Perform and profession multiple times. The thing is about those is that there are different subsets of these skills. So you have craft here, and that'll be like your ability to craft or trade a certain type of item. Here, let me go ahead and show you guys. So we are at the home page here, and you'll see that as you scroll down, you'll see a tab for skills. And this has literally every of your basic skills that's on the skill sheet right here. And you can just go and click whichever. So we're going to go ahead and look at crafting. And as it says here, it has a description of how to use, and then every single skill will have this common uses. Wow, this is really great. It's going to teach you the common uses of your skill. That way you can kind of become familiar with it, which is going to be important because you're going to want to know what your skills are used for when you're putting skill points into them. Common uses: practicing a trade, making something like armor or weapons. And those are the 2. Create masterwork items, repair items. So those are the common uses of crafting, and there's all kind of things you can specialize in. It has them all listed there, whether it be armor or, there's potions, things like that. There's so much to do. And with knowledge, you can see here there is knowledge written down here. Knowledge arcana, which means your knowledge of the arcane. Knowledge dungeoneering, your knowledge of dungeons, things like that. It's pretty simple. Like basically, if you want to try to recognize an arcane symbol, you're gonna have to roll knowledge arcana. Okay. For example, maybe it's useful for a mission that you know who the king and his sons are and things like that. It's useful information. You can roll a knowledge history or knowledge local, depending on where you're at. So you'll roll it, and depending on how well you roll, the DM being me, I'll decide how much you know about it. So if you get a really low roll and you have a low modifier and it just turns out to be a low roll, I'm going to say, well, you know that there is a king in this area, that this is a monarchy, but you don't really know who the king is right now. Or if you roll really high, I can tell you, basically I can say, you know a lot about this area. You know the existing heirs, what order they are heir to the throne. You know what their family fortune's worth. You know what year they came into power. You know who the political advisors are. You know everything about them. So that's just one example of how that works. Perception's pretty simple. It's probably one of the most commonly rolled. I almost never create a character with low perception. because it's so important, and your party's going to get split up from time to time, and it's just so important that you are able to recognize your surroundings and make good account of what you're looking at here. It's gonna be important to getting a drop on your enemies, seeing a trap, solving a puzzle. It's so important to have decent perception. So try to have decent perception. Sensing motive is like an intuition kind of thing. Like if you can feel out the person you're talking to, so you can kind of see where they're coming from and what they are trying to get. So if someone's has a malevolent motive, like someone's saying, "Hey, quick, I need your help. Come around this corner. Someone's being attacked." You can roll sense motive, and you can see if they're trying to trap you, trick you. You know what I mean? So they can get you in the alleyway, or if they're being genuine and they're really panicked and they're scared. And depending on how well you roll sense motive, the more specific I'll be. So things like that are kind of important. Sleight of hand, really not that important unless you are doing a lot of sleight of hand stuff. It's going to be hiding, things, pickpocketing, things like that. Stealth, simple. Use magical device. It's a little more complicated. We'll go over that. We'll go over those things later, or maybe we won't. Maybe you'll just have to look it up yourself, but we'll see. Anyway, so we've kind of gone over how skills are used, and hopefully you have a good idea of how skills come into use during the campaign and how often you're going to be rolling. You're going to be rolling every round. Every time that you're having interaction with the DM, I'm going to, let's say you're talking to someone, I'm going to say, or you're just standing there, I'm going to say, roll perception. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm just going to be like, roll perception. And then you're going to have to roll perception, you know what I mean? And it's just, you're going to roll multiple times each time you have any kind of interaction. So just make sure that you pick your skills wisely. So if I remember correctly, we have a rogue here. So what we really want to do is we want to go to the rogue class skills, which is going to be under the rogue page on D20. I think I showed you guys a little bit of it in the last video. Every time you click a class, you'll just be able to read their class skills right there. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm not going to show you guys because, like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to go into the search bar, search up rogue, or you can go to the home page and click rogue. Okay guys, welcome back to our tutorial here. I had a little break. So here we are, we're at class skills under the rogue page on d20pfsrd.com, and it says our class skills are going to be acrobatics. So what we want to do is, I'm just going to put a little dot here. I don't remember, maybe we're supposed to check the box. I don't really remember what the box is for, but we're just going to put a little dot there. It says, hey, that's our class skill. It's going to help us realize. And the important part about class skills is class skills are going to level up quicker, and the more points you put in them, the more they'll increase. Instead of like if you just put 1 point, you have 1 point. When you put 1 point, you're going to have, if you put one rank is what they're actually called. If you put one rank in it, it's going to have multiple, and we'll go over how that works later. So acrobatics, appraise, bluff, climb, diplomacy, disable device, disguise, escape artist, intimidate, knowledge dungeoneering, knowledge local, linguistics, perception, perform. It says perform, yeah, just any perform, I guess. So you're able to perform something as a rogue. Profession, so you get one profession. Sense motive, so important. I cannot stress how important that and perception are. Sleight of hand, stealth, swim, and use magical device. So those are going to be our class skills. I've marked them all right there, and you know, you're going to get a probably similar amount, maybe it's even the exact same amount of class skills per class. I'm not exactly sure, but there you go for that. We're going to determine how many skill ranks we get. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to go to your class page. So for me, it's a rogue, and it'll tell you right underneath where it says class skills. I'll go ahead and show you guys that. Right underneath where it says class skills, it says skill ranks per level, 8 plus intelligence modifier. So that means we have a base skill ranks of 8 per level, and plus our intelligence modifier. Remember, we did go under modifiers, over modifiers before, and so see, here's kind of where that kind of comes into handy. As you see here, we made our intelligence our lowest one, so that's really going to affect the way that we're able to get skill ranks. So maybe we should have a higher intelligence. Who knows? In fact, maybe we need intelligence more than we need constitution, right? So why don't you see? It's never too late to change as long as you're still in character creation. So we're just going to go ahead and erase that. Just because I do want a lot of skills, because rogues really aren't the strongest, heaviest hitters. So you're going to be, as a rogue or any kind of subclass of rogue, it's going to be extremely important for you as a member of your party to be able to be the guy behind the scenes, kind of making everything happen. So we're going to swap those here. We're going to have 8 for Constitution, which is -1, and Intelligence, which is 10, so it's 0. We just want a little bit higher of an intelligence, that way we can increase our skill ranks, and we're not losing skill ranks per level. So that means that we get 8 per level, which is not that bad. Since we're level 1 right now, remember we will be changing that to level 5 later, since we're level 1 right now. That means we have 8 skill ranks, so we're going to go ahead and apply those how we want to. So what's the most important thing for a rogue, a thief kind of guy, you know, stealth? Obviously, stealth is going to be so important. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add... we might change this up a little bit as we go along, but let's say we're going to add 2 to stealth, right? We just really want a good stealth. And then we're going to, here's our ability modifier is going to be the left one. So you see up here it says ranks is the middle. Ability modifier, ranks, and miscellaneous modifiers. And one miscellaneous modifier, for example, would be the class skill bonus. So if we look that up real quick, you just want to go to the search bar now. I'm typing in class skills. Or it'll just be under skills. So if you just go under skills, there's a, here. Right now we are under skills, just the skills page. And right here it says class skills, just right there. Okay. So I went ahead and clicked that, and class skills, it says you get a +3 bonus on all class skills that you put ranks into. If you have more than one class and both grant you a skill bonus, these bonuses do not stack. As long as you put 1 skill rank into a class skill, you get 3 bonus. So to reiterate that, so if we put 2 in, we don't get 6 bonus points, okay? You just get the bonus 1 time. So here, as you can see, we did put 2 into stealth. So our ability modifier for dex being 3, we can put a 3 there. And then we know this is a class skill, so we're going to add 3 to that, to the miscellaneous modifier. Now, some people do it differently. You don't have to write it as a miscellaneous modifier because you have the dot here. You know that it's a class skill. But we're going to go ahead and put it just to make it a little bit easier on you guys because it's your first time. So this adds up to an 8, which is pretty good. That means, you know, if you look at, there's going to be a stealth table underneath stealth, and all these class skills, all these skills are going to have a table for how to make your checks, and like it'll say, for example, like acrobatics will say like jumping over a small wall or jumping onto this high of a platform requires you to make a check of this amount, right? So those kind of things, so it's important to know. But so as you see here, so even if we roll a 2, that's going to equate to a 10, which is going to get us past most, you know, most simple. It's gonna be useful for most simple stealth actions. You're going to be able to accomplish most simple stealth actions. So there we go. So we're down to 6 skill ranks now. We definitely want 1 in acrobatics because it's important to be able to jump and balance on things. I mean, we're a rogue, you know. It's so important. We'll put 1. Our dex modifier is 3, and it's a class skill, so we gain 3. So that's gonna be 7. Okay, so let's go down. Let's see. Perception, like I said, so important. Let's put 2 on perception. It's a class skill, so we get 3, and our wisdom modifier is 0, so we're only gonna have 5 on perception. That's pretty low, but remember we are starting at level 5, so we'll be able to increase these as we go along. So where are we next? Sleight of hand might be useful. Disguise will be useful. Climbing is pretty important, so we'll put 1 into climb. So right now we've used 2, 4, 5, 6. So 1 to climb with the class skill, and our modifier for strength is 1. So 5. Remember, the total bonus is what's just added on, because all these you roll a d20 for when you try to do it, and that the bonus will just be added onto your roll. So we are down to 2. So I think what we probably want is sense motive, which will be 1, 0, and 3. 4, and probably sleight of hand, which will be 7. So great. All right. Now we've done our skills for our level 1 character, and I mean that's pretty much it. Remember, if it does say how many skill ranks you get per level. So ours is going to be 8 plus our intelligence modifier. So our intelligence modifier being 0 is kind of weak, but we will get 8 plus 0. Okay guys, that's going to conclude our section on skills. We went over how to find out how many skill ranks you get depending on what class you are, how to decide where to put your skills, and how being a class skill affects your total bonus, and even how to roll a skill. So we went over all the basics on that. I hope you guys learned a lot, and we'll be back for the next section on weapons.